I am exactly where I need to be in this moment. I am in complete harmony with those around me who share this moment with me. I contribute only truth and love to those around me. I am being used as a beacon of light to transmit God's divine purpose to others. I will bring peace to this moment. Now let there be truth, love, light, and peace. When one meanders about her tedious life in oblivion, she is likened to being asleep. Yet, there are moments in such a life that are requisite in her awakening. These moments are also known as visions, and if one can maintain vigilance during these moments, one may begin to unravel the tightly woven thread of her life's purpose. And of course, as with anything in life, when one first awakens to a new beginning, she must strengthen her muscles of awareness. This gets easier with time, and when one strengthens a certain muscle, it is nearly impossible for the other muscles to be neglected.
Welcome to Vision Class.
The web-based open classroom that helps its students interconnect to achieve their visions and find their life's greater purpose. Students can join Vision Class by simply logging onto YouTube and subscribing to the Vision Class channel. For a duration of 12 weeks, Vision Class will air a 1-hour lecture every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, beginning Friday, June 7th, 2013.
So to stay abreast of what's going on in class and to always be aware, just remember you just want to go to our Facebook or Google Plus pages and you want to download the syllabus. Or you can download the syllabus directly by clicking on the link below. We have had some technical difficulties with downloading the syllabus, especially from Android phones. But in which case, if you're having any difficulties, never hesitate to email me at sugarfreemail@rocketmail.com, where I will answer questions and I will also be available to submit to you the syllabus if you are having issues with downloading it.
There are 6 class texts you will need for Vision Class. Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawain, Write It Down, Make It Happen by Henriette Ann Clouser, The Isaiah Effect by Greg Braden or A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, The Spontaneous Healing of Belief by Greg Braden, and The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
The whole purpose of Vision Class is to interconnect, is to share, is to gain everyone's insight and testimonials such that your own vision is fueled. We want you not only to find your visions in life, but we want to use those visions as points on a map to help you figure out your life purpose, your life path.
Vision Class is updated constantly with information and changes that are vital to each student's success, so it is important that students remain vigilant of these updates on their own. By accessing our Facebook and Google Plus sites, students can find everything from the course syllabus to free downloadable texts by the mere click of a button. To access all Vision Class links for Facebook, simply click on the Notes section. To access all Vision Class links for Google Plus, simply click on the About tab at the top of the page and scroll down to the Links section. Students can also access the Vision Class calendar from one of the aforementioned sections, which allows you a quick glance of all dates, times, and assignments for Vision Class.
For your daily assignments, you'll need 3 notebooks to get started.
A notebook of any size to be utilized as a journal, labeled as the Legacy Book. A small notebook that is portable to carry with you at all times, labeled as the Intention Book. And a medium to large size notebook to help you take notes and complete class assignments labeled as the Vision Book. You will also need a presentation board of any kind, which you will update throughout class with inspirations and visions you hope to achieve in your life, newly titled the Vision Board.
This class is not, I will say it a million times, if you've never heard me say it once, you're going to hear me say it now. This class is not about what you're able to accomplish, okay? It is about what you do with your time. So it's not just, hey, I'm able to cover all the text material, Shira, now what? Because you can read all these books all day long and never become aware of your reality. No, this class is about how you connect to yourself, how you connect to your creator. How do you do that? By what you put into the class. This is about how to interconnect with your fellow students and find a way that works for you, such that this becomes a habit. And once this way of life becomes a habit for you, you will notice how easy it is to incorporate the elements of this class into your life.
Today in Vision class, we discuss techniques for recovering a sense of identity, as well as tools for empowering your vision through affirmations. Today's readings come from The Artist's Way, the Week 2 chapter, pages 41 through 59, and finishing Creative Visualization. Today's assignment is to continue morning pages, artist date, and jotting down dreams and visions in your vision book. Write one affirmation to focus on throughout the duration of the course, which will later be transferred to your Vision board. And do any assignments from The Artist's Way or Creative Visualization that specifically speak to you, and post the answers to one of each on Facebook or Google+, and write other exercises in your vision book. Today we will be joined by field expert Tay Queen, who will discuss the particulars of writing down your own personalized affirmations.
Everybody, my name is Shira, if you don't already know, and I am your hostess slash teacher slash mentor for Vision class, and this is week 2, so welcome back. And I want to know how you're doing. How are you doing with your morning pages? How are your artist date going? How do you find, completing the tasks in Julia Cameron's Artist Way? Just let me know how you're doing on Facebook, Google+, send me a video, sugarfreemail@rocketmail.com. I want to also remind you that it is imperative that you are reading and that you're doing the assignments. This is the practical, physical way to manifest your visions. This is your ability to do your part in order to manifest your visions. Last week we talked about creative visualization and defining your vision. By doing visualization. Again, this is another practical tool. At the end of the lecture, I also recommended different exercises in creative visualization that will help you to better define your vision in your mind's eye. Again, it's very important that you are fulfilling your tasks and obligations, fulfilling your half of manifesting your vision so that the universe can do its half to bring everything towards you. As always, if you have access to a YouTube account, you have access to Google+. You can always log into Google+ and check for updates. I am updating constantly. You can also log into our Facebook page. Again, the links of which are listed below. We have had some issues with the links translating from when I'm copying them and pasting them into the description box below. So the best way to get in touch with all of these links is to simply log onto our Google+ and Facebook pages, where there are not only free downloadable textbooks, we have 6 free books now out of 7. So essentially you could complete most of the coursework for this class without having to pay a dime. Not only that, but we will always have my office hours that we're doing. Those office hours will always be posted. Those office hours will always be archived and recorded. And again, you can access these on Facebook through the notes section. I also will show you sample sample work that I've done as far as completing some of the exercises and tasks mentioned in the book. And I also will show you some of the... That was scary as hell. Stay on top of your coursework, stay on top of the updates that I post on Facebook and Google+, and you should be good. And of course, continue to watch the lectures. Don't forget, office hours are always every Saturday and Sunday, 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Ustream. I will always post the link to that particular office hour about 10 minutes prior to the actual office hour. So you have to always check Facebook and Google Plus for when that is. And of course, if there are any changes or updates, you must always stay abreast of the information that I am providing you by logging into Facebook and Google Plus regularly if you choose to participate at that level. Today we're going to discuss empowering your vision through affirmations. We have a special guest speaker, a field expert, if you will. Her name is Tay Queen. She is an inspiration to any human being on this planet, but especially females. She is incredibly empowering. You will see a mini lecture from her showing you exactly how to write affirmations. Again, this is a technique, this is a practical tool that will allow you to manifest your visions by doing your part so that the universe can do its part to bring your visions to you. So without further ado, let class commence. So this week's lecture, we are in Julia Cameron's Artist's Way, week 2, which is recovering a sense of identity. So we spoke about recovery last week. What is recovery? Recovery means that you are somehow diminished, somehow deficient in an aspect of your life, and therefore you are rebuilding it, you are recovering, right? Typically recovery means in a sense that you are addicted to some sort of a behavior or some sort of a pattern. Typically in this class when we talk about recovery, we're referring to recovering from something that happens in here. So it's not necessarily a physical body type of recovery, you're actually recovering from mind addictions, if you will. So this week, your recovery is no longer speaking about safety, where you feel insecure about your visions. Now we're talking about your identity. So what is your identity? Your identity is who you think that you are, or who you are. We speak about vision class in terms of manifesting your visions so that you can help to manifest your life's purpose. Your life's purpose is essentially who you are. So this chapter is very key in understanding, because before it was your sense of safety that would relate to your visions. Now we're talking about your sense of identity, which relates back to your life's purpose. Why do you need to know your life's purpose? Because somewhere, somehow, your purpose is intertwined with your ability to help others. This is discussed in creative visualization this week as well. But it's very important that we understand that our life's purposes intertwine with others' life's purposes. This is why we do vision class in a communal setting. This is why we do vision class in the way that we do vision class, where we encourage people's opinions and help with one another. This is why we do a communal office hour instead of a one-on-one office hour. This is all about the community, because in the end, the entire purpose that you are here for, that I am here for, is one another. So how does recovering a sense of identity relate to affirmations, which is how we are going to empower our vision, right? How are we going to empower ourselves? How are we going to recover our identity through affirmations? Affirmations, as we spoke about briefly last week, is a way to make your thoughts firm. So right now, you don't have an ability to make your thoughts firm because your thoughts are not your own. We spoke about this last week. So in order to recover a sense of identity, you have to first know what you want to make firm. Again, this is what we discovered last week. So now that we've discovered what we'd like to make firm, we've discovered what, in some way, shape, or form, we've started thinking at least about what our visions are, what we'd like to manifest. Now we have to make them firm. We have to do, as I said earlier, our part to make them happen. And the best way we are doing that this week is through affirmations. We have very many limiting beliefs, okay? We'll call them limiting beliefs. Last week we talked about recovering a sense of safety, so we said, okay, we are uncomfortable with being the truest version of ourselves, so we become shadow artists. We are uncomfortable with delving into careers that are a little bit more ambiguous and abstract, so instead we become we have shadow careers. In this way, we keep ourselves from being our truest self because it feels safe, but we realize that it's not really safe. It's a false self telling us that we're safe, and in fact we feel quite insecure. This is why we're shadow artists, because otherwise we'd be totally something different. But of course we attach ourselves to careers and identities that are similar to what we'd like to do, but we just don't go all the way with it. So now we're talking about recovering a sense of identity. Who are we really? And because we don't know who that is, there is a limiting factor that allows us not to know who we are, and that's called self-doubt. This is discussed in The Artist's Way. So self-doubt is a limiting belief that allows you to detach from your truest self. Self-doubt is when you think a thought that allows you to anticipate your downfall, that allows you to anticipate your inability to complete something. I've already seen this happening in vision class. I've already seen students displaying levels of self-doubt. They've written about it. This is the key. Once you write about it, or once you talk about it, or once you think about it, you become aware of it. And that is the first step. So in order to begin to eliminate your self-doubt, you must first make contact with the concept that you are already limiting yourself. You have to begin to know that you are doubting yourself. Why is that detrimental? Well, of course, if you're not empowering your vision, you're doubting your vision. So we want to empower our visions, right? We're talking about that this week. So in order to empower your vision, you have to eliminate self-doubt. How? Affirmations. As I've said, students have begun to express their doubt about morning pages, their doubt about what they're doing. First of all, I have not yet explained to you all in depth what you're doing. I've just told you to do it. There's a reason for this. As I mentioned earlier, there is a practical aspect and there is a conceptual aspect. The first three books that we deal with, The Artist's Way, Creative Visualization, and Write It Down, Make It Happen, are the practical books. Now this is kind of backwards. Technically you want to get a concept before you apply it practically, but since all of us live in a physical world and we've been trained in physical things, we need to untrain ourselves. And the first way to do that is to untrain ourselves on a physical plane. That is why I'm having you do all of the grunt work first, because you can't appreciate the concept without understanding what you're doing in the first place. So you're kind of in this place of ambiguity and you're in a place where you're not understanding what you're doing. So you're doubting it. Don't doubt. Students have expressed frustration with the morning pages. The morning pages are meant to be frustrating. This is fine. This is a good thing. People are thinking, I don't like the morning pages. Is that okay? That's fine. Morning pages suck. How many times do I have to say this? They suck. B-A-L-L-S. That's what they suck, okay? And the bigger your notebook that you got, ladies and gentlemen, that's why I said very specifically in all the previews that you want to get a pocket-sized notebook, because I knew that it's going to be highly overwhelming to have a big notebook to write your morning pages in. But guess what? If you bought that size notebook, it's because you were meant to. That means you have to overcome that obstacle, and you need to therefore write in that bigger notebook. But sure, it consumes a lot of my time. I don't want to write in such a big notebook. That's your censor. That's your self-doubt. Let me explain why you are writing in your morning pages, just so I can tell you right now. Although I was not going to speak about it till Write It Down, Make It Happen. We'll touch on it right now because it's such a pressing issue. A really good friend of mine asked me to break down why are we writing, because she's writing in them. And she said, I do see a shift, but I don't know why. So why are we writing? I'll give you the intellectual answer as to why we're writing. We're writing for a multitude of reasons. The main reason that you're writing is to thrust you into the moment. You see, when you're writing, although you are having self-limiting beliefs as you're writing, you're still thrust into the now. There's nothing you can do about it because your thoughts are no longer consumed of everything in the day. You have to write it down on the page. So what happens is they don't continue to be future anxiety thoughts or past thoughts of depression. They become moments of now. Say that again. When you begin writing about your woes and your problems and your concerns, you get thrust into the now. And this becomes a practice. You see, when you do the morning pages constantly as habit, you are untraining yourself from making those problems into problems. They're becoming more tangible. They're becoming more accessible. You don't see it as that, but that's what you're doing. Example, when you have a personal trainer and your trainer tells you to run 15 laps, you don't know why you're running 15 laps. And then you don't know why he makes you run 15 laps and then go do the Stairmaster. And you don't know why he makes you go from the Stairmaster to jump rope. And then you don't know why he takes you from jump rope to stretching. All you know is that you're doing exercise, right? And you hope it gleans some sort of you hope to glean some sort of a result from your exercise. And of course you will. Because if your trainer is good, you'll be run ragged, but in the end you'll have a great body. You'll have a Beyonce body, right? So what do you want to do? These are exercises. You might not know why you're doing them, why in this order, why am I telling you this many? We'll get to that later. But the point is that it's an exercise. And the more you exercise that muscle, guess what? It becomes easier. And the more you practice it, guess what? The more you manifest. You see, what we don't realize is that by writing, you're putting yourself into the now. That's exactly what you're doing. I said this earlier. By writing, you are placing yourself into the moment. Right? Instead of waking up and thinking about your thoughts, I have to go to the gym today, I have to go to the bank, I'm so busy, and you're like freaking out. Instead of doing that, yeah, you're freaking out, but you're freaking out in a tangible way. You're freaking out in a controlled environment. It's not running you, you're running it. So what starts to happen is that in the future, things that were going to happen that weren't going to happen before are happening quicker in physical time, right? Not conceptual time, but in physical, actual time, things start happening quicker. Why? Because of the work you're doing in the morning that you think has nothing to do with anything else. It is allowing events to be sucked towards you such that all of a sudden you notice things happening around you and you're like, well, why are they happening? The morning pages, the artist state. Because you're forcing the artist state, again, thrusts you into the now. So because you're here in the now, you start to notice more things. You attract more nowness. You attract more being, more presence. And the whole point of this class, in the end, what you will see is to be here now. Guess what? The classes do for you. They force you to be here now. Unless you've got a TV on in the background and you're focusing between your... No, but if you're watching this class right now, guess what? You're in the now. You've attracted more of it. That's just one way. But by doing the work, by doing your part, guess what starts happening? Oh, a situation that's synchronistic. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't know that that was going to happen today. That's a coincidence. I was thinking about I need to go out and exercise, and all of a sudden I bump into my trainer at the grocery store. Guess what? Make no mistake about it. Those events are there as a way for you to stop, to pause. Guess what pausing does? Nowness. And I'm implanting this seed in your mind right now for a later discussion. But I just want you to know that although you might not know the specific reasons for why you are doing things the way that you're doing them, as long as you listen to your trainer tell you what you're supposed to be doing, you will manifest. You'll manifest. So do as I'm saying, right? And as I do, because I do the work. So I want to remind you, keep being frustrated, keep being angry, keep being annoyed, and write about it. Because the writing creates the awareness of it, as opposed to it becoming part of you before the censor can trick you back into being that person. You're not that person. Your identity is you're recovering your sense of identity is recovering a sense of who you really are. And who you really are is not those thoughts. Who you really are is not those frustrations. And that's why you write them down, so that they no longer become part of you, they become separate from you, and you see them in front of you and they're outside of your head. And although you think that nothing is happening, everything is happening in that moment. So, talking about affirmations, we want to remind ourselves what an affirmation is. The word affirmation means, again, to make firm. What are we making firm? We're making a thought firm, right? So normally our thoughts are very fluid and transient, right? Like one minute you're thinking about the grocery store, and the next minute you're thinking about work, and then the next minute you're thinking about the date that you're going on. Your mind is all over the place. What an affirmation does is it takes those pieces of your mind and it puts them into little categories. Instead of letting your thoughts be these fluid events in your mind, they now become solid events, right? So instead of a thought being all over the place, it now can be categorized. And the reason that we want to do this is so that we sort of are in charge of what we manifest. That's really important, that we be in charge of what we manifest, or we be co-creators of what we manifest. So you all can do some of the affirmations that Julia Cameron mentions, but I think it's quite important for your journey, especially in creating your visions, which will thus lead you to your life's purpose, if you can create your affirmations on your own. So before I get into that topic, now we will cut over to this mini lecture from Tay Queen, who will speak to you about empowering your vision through affirmations.
Peace and blessings, everybody. I'm Tay Queen, and I'm here to share with you 4 tips on writing great affirmations. Well, I write daily affirmations. That's part of my spiritual practice. It's a really, really great way to get into the habit of doing something every day, first and foremost, which creates discipline. And secondly, it's another avenue in which you can add to your regimen, your daily regimen, that will help to align you with your spirit and getting more in touch with that aspect of yourself. It also allows you to do a lot of inner work and healing. So it's a really, really great tool to do some light work within yourself. The first tip that I want to say is key on writing great affirmations is to always speak in the present tense. Now, from whatever writing background you may have, even if it just be school, grade school and all that, often we write in the past tense or the future tense. I mean, we often write in the present tense as well, but it just becomes habit to write a lot of times in the past tense. And this is not something you really want to do when it comes to affirmations, because affirmations are supposed to resonate with you at a resounding moment. So it's supposed to be infinite, and the only thing that's infinite is the present, right? So we have to write in the present, because when we write in the past, we're speaking as if something actually has an end, okay? And then when we speak in the future term, you never really get to that point. So you can't go back, you can't go forward. All you have is the present, right? So you have to write in the present tense. I mean, that's the pretty basic thing. It's not too elaborate. Anything else other than that, really, there's no other real concrete rules, let's put it that way, to writing affirmations, other than really making sure you're writing in the present tense. Alright, so another great tip is use your own language. Oftentimes, when we write affirmations, or we're in the mood to write something, we feel like it has to be so epic or so dramatic, or it has to be a work of art. And not that that doesn't add to the emotional connection that you're going to have to your affirmations. It's just that you don't talk like that every day. So your mind is actually programmed to the language that you already use. So if you speak like this, "Hey girl, how you doing?" right? And then you write an affirmation and it talks like this, something like, "Thou shalt go forward in my life," and do all that, and you become Shakespearean all of a sudden, then it's like, yeah, but no. You know what I'm saying? So not that it's wrong to use proper English or proper grammar, but it's not necessary. You know what I'm saying? So if you speak and you resonate with a frequency that is, okay, "Hey girl, how you doing?" Kind of write in that way, or write in that tone, or however you write, or whatever expresses you as a person. Another one is, don't feel limited. Don't feel like you have to do things one set concrete way. I mean, a great format for affirmations is "I am blah blah blah," right? So I mean, you can use that when you feel like you're getting stuck, but you don't have to stick to that. Some of the greatest and most ancient affirmations don't even have "I" and "am" anywhere near it. So it's really, really imperative that you not feel limited, that you really tap into your own level of creativity Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. You're not doing it wrong. Especially if you follow my first tip, writing in the present, there's pretty much nothing else that you could do to make it ineffective. And even if you're not writing necessarily in the present, doesn't mean it's not going to work. It just means it works best when you're writing in the present. The last tip that I have, which is one of my favorite tips, and it's something that I personally do. I never really saw it in affirmations before, but I kind of added it myself to my own affirmations that I use. It's called, what I call it, using a power word, quote unquote. And a power word essentially is just a word of finality. It closes out the whole grandeur of your affirmation, and it kind of seals it. It kind of gives it that stamp of approval, like, yeah, we're done, this is good. The one that I use is actually a Yoruba word, which people who are not familiar, Yoruba people are West African ethnic group of people, often found in Nigeria, but they're not limited in Nigeria. And ashe literally means, it's hard to translate from Yoruba to English, but a lot of the common definitions are all power, all spiritual power be unto it, and so it be are two really powerful translations of it. So you can just use those translations into English if you'd like to. You can say so it be, or it is so declared, or this is so. If you have other words that in different languages that may have a resonance with you, like amen or whatever. I mean, it's not a prayer in the typical form of a prayer, but then again, it kind of is. So, having that level of that, using that power word at the end kind of just seals it in, kind of just gives that little pack and gives you that psychological boost where you're just like, yeah, I just did it. You know what I mean? So pretty much, those are my 4 tips. So again, to review, write in the present tense and use your own language. And then don't feel limited, don't feel boxed in, feel free in writing your affirmation. And then finally, use your power word. Mine is ashe, yours might be amen. There are many, might even be namaste. There are many different words that you can use. Alright, so pretty much that's it. And peace, love, and so many blessings. Hope to see you guys again.
Thank you, Tay Queen, for taking the time to share your tips for affirmations. Let us take a moment after vision class to visit her website, GeminiCreations.com, to show our support for her. Affirmation for Tay Queen to be said aloud and felt through our bodies. We now affirm the financial abundance and wealth of Tay Queen's flourishing business, Gemini Creations.
So as always, I like to thank any guest speakers, anybody that shared their testimony. But so we want to thank Tay Queen for her time and her insight and her immeasurable and insurmountable wisdom that she provided us with today. So we always want to support anybody that's contributed to us if they have something that they'd like you to support. So we want to support Tay, and we want to visit her website, which the link is listed below. So thank you, Tay, and we'll see more of her throughout. So, Julia Cameron talks about poisonous playmates and crazy makers. We will, for all intents and purposes, call crazy makers energy vampires because, personally, the term crazy maker makes me crazy. So we're going to talk about poisonous playmates and crazy energy vampires. Yes. So what's a poisonous playmate? Just to touch upon it, a poisonous playmate, there's a difference between a poisonous playmate and a crazy maker. A poisonous playmate is someone who involves ourselves with us, all right, and they choose to help us block our vision, whereas a crazy maker is someone who we involve ourselves with, who we utilize to help block ourselves. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, so what is so poisonous playmate would be somebody typically who's close to you, who is threatened by your ability to manifest your visions and your dreams. We talked about this in one of our office hours, where the people closest to you have the tendency of crushing and and squashing your dreams the most. These people are what you would call poisonous playmates. Why do you want to avoid a poisonous playmate? You want to avoid a poisonous playmate because, of course, they're not going to help you construct your sense of identity. They're going to tear it down. We are right now growing children, right? We are reborn children growing in our new bodies, in our new physical bodies, which are now spiritual bodies, where we are understanding that we have the ability on a level with God, where we can create with God. Where as long as we walk in our path, which is our life's purpose, which is what we're learning to do at the end of this course, once we walk onto our life's path, we are in full cooperation with God. But people who are not doing that, or who are doing that to a level, but they're not doing it to the level that you're doing it at, like to interfere with your life because they don't understand how to do it. So what they do inadvertently or sometimes advertently is they become poisonous to you. They become toxic to you. And because they're close to you and because typically they've helped create you in some way, shape, or form, whether they're your friend or family member, in some way they've helped you create the identity that you now associate with who you are, but it's not who you really are. So once you are recovering your identity, guess what? They are like a person who is an addict. They're like the first drink for that person, as Julia Cameron says. They're like the first drink, right? If you're an alcoholic and you're recovering, do you need to have a drink of alcohol? No. But if you involve yourself with other people who are not sober, you are more likely to become an alcoholic. In fact, as she states, would your non-sober friends want you as you're sobering up? Would they really want to hang around you and not get you drunk? Of course they want to get you drunk. They're going to be threatened by the fact that, guess what? This person's able to overcome and have some sobriety in their life, and we can't. This is what they will do. So you have to begin to identify those people in your life who are squashing your dreams.
Please note that on some level, whether they admit it, know it, or not, poisonous playmates sense the lack of truth within themselves and seek to bring that lack out of you, and they will try until they succeed. Also note, you sense a lack within yourself and thus attract people who help feed that lack in you, known as energy vampires. Subconsciously, you want to maintain that lack because it keeps you from doing the work which we are doing in this class. This is why the morning pages, for example, are difficult, and we talk ourselves out of doing them.
And you have to avoid them. Avoid talking about your dream with them. Avoid sharing that you're in vision class. Do not share, because sharing is caring, and they may or may not care about you. And again, this may or may not be on purpose, but it does not matter. You do not need this now, because right now you're growing. And this is the same process that happened to you when you were growing the first time around in real life, when you were becoming, from growing from an infant to a child, to adolescence to adulthood. You, again, we talked about this in phases of rebirth. You were growing and you were unable during that time to fully become yourself. So now you're having to recover an identity for yourself in a later age, now that you're older. Guess what? You can't afford for someone to squash your dreams a second time around. You have to be conscious of this because you didn't have the choice the first time around whether or not people were going to squash your dreams. These same people who created you, who squashed your dreams in the first place, are coming back for the second kill. You don't have that to afford. You've just recovered a sense of safety so you could sort of, hey, I'm kind of safe in believing in my dreams. Now I need to know who I am within that, and I can't afford to have you around me. This is how you avoid a poisonous playmate, through affirmations and through awareness, which is what we do, again, while we do our artist state and morning pages. You don't have to be totally honest with people about what you're doing. You just need to come out successful where they can see that you have manifested what you've talked about. So don't tell everybody what you're doing. They don't need to know. All right. Now, yeah, this is for you. This is not for them. This is not so that they can feel safe. This is so that you can feel safe. Now, she talks about a crazy maker, an energy vampire. What's an energy vampire? An energy vampire is someone who you attract purposefully, subconsciously, to keep you from doing your dreams. So whereas the poisonous playmate attracts themselves to you on their own volition, you on your own subconscious level are now attracting someone to you who will suck the energy out of you. So while they do the same thing, a poisonous playmate and an energy vampire do the same function, ultimately they suck the energy out of you. On the crazy maker level, on the energy vampire level, you're doing it to yourself through another being. So what Julia Cameron does is she offers you 10 different ways to identify who those people are, because you are attracting them, so that you can keep them from you, because you attract them to you. Can a crazy maker and a poisonous playmate be the same person? Absolutely. Some of you are probably wondering, well, are they 2 different people? Are they 5 different people? Sometimes they're one and the same. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes these are people who are 2 different entities, all right? Sometimes a crazy maker comes in the form of, you want validation somehow for what you're doing, and you are requesting it through a friend, and this friend is a poisonous playmate, but they're also a crazy maker because of their actions, and you've attracted it because you've asked them for their opinion in hopes that they will squash your dreams so that you don't have to continue recovering, right? Everyone talks about how difficult it is for them to do morning pages and artist dates. Wouldn't it be just easier if someone told you that you don't have to do that stuff? Whew. I knew Shira was wrong. And then you go back to living your life of solitude. You go back to living your life of blindness. This is what an energy vampire will do. They will suck and drain all of the energy out of you, such that you have no energy to put back into your dream and your vision, which is what you wanted all along. Because don't you like saying, I'm too tired to do morning pages? I know I should do them, but I'm tired. And then the self-doubt ensues, and then the cycle comes back. This is why you avoid those people. This is why you identify them. Are we saying they're evil people? No. Are we saying we don't like them? No. We're not creating dissonance here. We're creating harmony. The only way to create harmony is by understanding. And that's all you're doing. You're observing it. I'd prefer to have less of that in my life right now that I'm recovering. And I'll bring you in at the level that you come in at, right? And you keep them at an arm's distance. So, there's a part in this book where she talks about asking for help. She's referring to a spiritual asking for help. She's referring to you ask for help from God. Why is this important? Because if you don't ask for help, what tends to happen is you don't bring yourself to a level of humility where you say to yourself, I cannot do this alone. This is why we're doing a vision class, mind you. All right? Because we have to have the recognition that at some level, we cannot do this all on our own. It's too much work to do. On another level, we have to humble ourselves, because what it allows us to do is to understand that to say that we're doing it ourselves is another way of tricking ourselves back into not doing the work. So by asking for help, you are throwing out there, the feelers, and you're saying, look, if you help me with this, God, I know that I can help manifest this. But without your help, I'm tricking myself back into my ego. I'm tricking myself back into my censor, who will tell me that I can't do this. So you have to ask for help, because asking for help is an acknowledgement. It's a way of saying, you know what? I know there is another force out there. I know that God is there, and I know that God can help me. And I have to ask for this. Let me tell you on a physical level that you must ask for help as well. Example. I did Indiegogo recently as well as Kickstarter. Just a reminder, when I did Kickstarter, I was not successful in raising enough funds, so therefore I received no funds. This time around with Indiegogo, albeit they take some extra percentage of money out, I get to keep the funds that I have raised. I didn't want to ask for help. I didn't want to. I wanted to do it all on my own so that I could say I did it on my own. And at a certain point, there were enough viewers writing me saying that they would donate that I jumped out on a limb. I did the work of preparing my presentation, of researching the products I needed, of understanding how a campaign works, and I launched my campaign, only to be met with high levels of criticism from other people. No doubt who were threatened by the fact that I was asking for help. You see, this all is cyclic. All of this information goes back to things that I've said before. What have I said before? That poisonous playmates are going to be threatened by the fact that you are doing for yourself. This is not me just doing for myself. This is me taking the initiative, saying, I cannot do this alone. I need other people to help me. I, right now, am not in a place to raise that type of money on my own. And even if I were, the simple act of asking for help is saying to people that I am telling you this vision is possible. But I am also solidifying that vision by asking for help, because I'm saying, there's something I want to do, and now I'm holding myself accountable to it through you all who are helping me. And I'm also humbling myself because I am having to say, hey, guess what? I'm not in a position to do this all on my own. All of these things connect back to the fact that I'm trying to empower my vision. That's what I'm trying to do when I raise money, when I'm asking for help. I'm trying to empower my vision, right? Does this mean that we always ask for help financially? No. It could mean something as simple as what was done for me, which was someone sent a laptop to me because they knew I needed it. But through the laptop, look what I'm doing. I'm doing vision class. That was the very first big project that I did out of the 4 that I'm manifesting right now. So you have to ask for help because you can never forget. Every time I look at that laptop, I cannot forget where it came from. I have to be humbled every moment that I look at that laptop to remember that the whole reason that vision class is possible is because of one viewer named Ugochi. Guess what? Who was made possible through other viewers who prayed for me because I asked for help. Why are people threatened by that? Why does that send off a sensor inside of people and makes them angry that you're asking for help? Why? Because they're not asking for help. Because if they were to ask for help, they'd identify with you and it'd be all okay. But guess what? They can't do that because they have to create a drama. Why do you have to create a drama? Because you can't focus inward on yourself, that you have to focus outward at other people. And you have to remember that this is your artist who is recovering and people sense that and they attack you. So just know that along this journey that, again, these poisonous playmates will come. Guess what? These are people who have watched my videos intimately, who I've shared intimate secrets with, who I've trusted, right? Just because by virtue of me doing a video, I'm trusting people with my situation, with my painful situation. Is it painful to ask for help? You bet. Just like the rest of this entire process of vision class is going to be painful. It's painful to write a morning page. It's painful to take out time to do an artist date. It's painful to wake up early at 6 a.m. at the crack of dawn and write in your morning pages. It's painful to sit through an hour lecture. It's painful, painful, painful on every level. It's painful for you to write all these tasks and remember all the people who've hurt you. Pain, 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 pain. So that you can come out glorious and victorious. But guess what? In the meantime, there is going to be more pain because people are going to come for you. They're going to come for you when you humble yourself, Jesus. Didn't they come for Jesus? Jesus humbled himself all day long and they killed him. All day long Jesus was doing miracles and they killed him. So what's the point, Shira? The point is that even the people who you trust are going to be the first ones to hurt you. And they're going to make comments that you know, for me, I'm doing videos, so it's comments. But for you, it might be a direct comment. And they'll make comments, right, so that they can detach themselves from you. When really, they're one and the same with you. And that is what resonates with them. And that's why they get so gripped with anger that they have to write something negative, to which everyone else puts a thumb up, right? A thumb up your butt, where it's like you constantly are feeling that thumb and you're like, oh, this hurt. I don't like this. You know, that's what I have to go through, right? But I'm telling you all about it. Why? Because sharing is caring, so that you can understand this is what comes for you. This is what happens when you begin to try to manifest your vision. You are met with dissonance, but recognize it for what it is so that it can be gone from you. Guess what? $1,700 later, I am here to tell you that what is going to come out of that $1,700, just like I have promised with the vision class that has come out of this laptop, everything that's going to manifest after those who have helped, those who have prayed, those who have been there positively, those who have resonated with that information, but they've understood it. I want to say that there will be a gratitude that manifests out of this, and there will be an outpouring of support for other people because of what everyone has done for me. And I want you to know that that's what asking for help does. Asking for help allows you to then give at another level, because you will be strengthened and humbled by that experience. Yet, that opens up blessings for you because, again, you've humbled yourself to say, this is where I need help, yet you're daring enough to say, this is where I need help. So that the universe understands, she needs help in this area or he needs help in that area. Well, guess what? That means that they want to do something. And therefore, I must give them the tools to be able to do something through other people. Yes, it's very deep.
Big tip. Remember to stay safe. Blocked friends may find your recovery disturbing. Their doubts will reactivate your own, so be very careful to safeguard your recovering artist. Don't share unless in a safe place of vision class.
right. So how do we remedy skepticism, and what is skepticism? Skepticism starts to come in now that we're recovering a sense of identity. Oh, we're doing all the morning pages, we're doing great. And then something creeps in, right? Another doubt. Why is that doubt creeping in at this moment of all moments? Why is doubt coming in? Doubt is coming in because you typically have not trained yourself yet to believe in yourself. You haven't gotten there yet. That is why we have to do a 12-week course, because this is a 12-week course that you're going to have to take over and over again. Never make the mistake of that, of thinking that you're going to just take this course and you're done. No. This is a lifelong practice. So what about skepticism? She speaks about your mind as being sort of like a room, right? And in your room, you have a very closed mind. So guess what? When a room is closed, what happens? The door is closed with just a little bit of light in. And as you go along, and every time you have skepticism, you have to notice it, right? Especially in this course, you have to notice it. Most of the time in life, you don't notice it, so your door just remains ajar. But in this course, you start to notice your skepticism every time it creeps in, because we're doing morning pages, because we're talking about it. So, skepticism, I doubted myself for a second. What happens? The door opens a little. Why? Because you begin to examine it. And little by little, you open the door to the room, and your mind becomes open. It becomes filled with truth. What she recommends for remedying skepticism is trying this exercise, which I recommend highly, and I am going to do it with you. Every time doubt comes in, guess what you're going to do with that doubt? You're going to put it in a pile, and you're going to get it away from you. You're going to put it in a pile, you're going to get it away from you. I'm going to choose in that moment of skepticism not to think about that. Well, Shira, I really am attached to it. Great. Get rid of it. Why? Because what starts to happen by practicing this is eventually you begin to examine whether or not you truly need that skepticism, right? We're not saying get rid of it altogether. I know you're attached to your doubts. I know, so am I. Why? Because we're comfortable in them, right? That's our fake sense of safety we talked about last week. But you're putting it to the side so that you can grab it later if you want to. Later on, you will find out that there are parts of that you don't need. This is part of the thought replacement process that I do all of the time. I'm here to tell you, look at me again, look at me now. Does it not work? Does it not work? Okay? So you're going to just try this. You're just going to try it. You don't have to know why yet, as I said in the beginning of the video. You don't need to know why yet. Just know to do it. So every time a doubt creeps in, you know what? I really want to be a filmmaker, but no one's going to support that. Attention to it, draw attention to it, put it to the side. Do not think about that at all for that moment. Just leave it for later. Write it down if you want to. Write your doubt down and put it in a literal physical jar, right? Like write it down, tear it out of the paper, put it in a jar, and say, I'll get to that doubt later. And don't do it at all for the next 12 weeks, right? Cover this later on when we talk about A New Earth, but just briefly, Julia Cameron speaks about attention. I talked briefly about attention last week. What is attention? Attention is stopping to smell the flowers. Attention is stopping to notice your breath. Attention is stopping to recognize when synchronicity happens. How does this manifest? Consciously choose tasks that you do every day in repetition that you don't think about, is to allow yourself to momentarily embrace those tasks fully. I do this when I wash the dishes. I do this every day, I promise you. Whenever I wash the dishes, I like to fully experience washing the dishes. So I clear out all the dishes. Sometimes I put music on and I'll clear out. I hate doing the dishes. You know what I hate even more than doing the dishes? Doing the laundry. So things that you detest are the things which you need to draw the most attention to. It will give you a new appreciation for life. Of course, if you're reading the book, you'll see how this manifests. But anyways, when I go and I wash the dishes, I'll pour the soap into the sink. I can imagine myself doing this, and I can feel a sense of presence as I'm talking to you about it, because I do this. I draw attention to the moment. And I see the water cascading into the right side of the sink and filling up. And then I begin to wash the baby's dishes because the water is the most clean. And then I rinse them out. And then I have this process. And again, this is one of these S words of repetition that we do in order to bring our conscious mind into the present moment. And then I'm washing the forks next, or the cups next, and then the forks, or however order I got to do it. And as I'm doing this process, and then I wipe down the counters, and then I wipe down the cabinets, and then I put everything away. And in this rhythm that I normally would unconsciously do, I become conscious of it and I draw attention to it so that it is a labor of love instead of labor of hatred. And in this way, you begin to have gratitude for life and you draw more presence, more nowness, more being into your life. And you attract that to later points in your life so that you begin to have synchronistic moments where you're like, well, where did that come from? That came from washing the dishes in that way. I also do this in the shower. When I wash my hair, I'm fully in the experience. When I wash my face, I make sure, I think about what I'm doing. I'm washing my cheeks, I'm washing my nose. I don't rush through it. Even if I'm doing a 5-minute shower. Fullest attention. Pay attention to the small things in life. They draw attention later. It draws the universe to pay attention to you.
Now you read the rules of the road on page 55, taking note of numbers 5 and 6.
So now we're going to talk about our intention books. So as you're starting to understand, the legacy book is meant for your journaling, for your morning pages, also a place to keep your affirmations. I tend to write affirmations in all of my morning pages entries. Yes. So this is very important. You're writing affirmations everywhere. Second of all, I start writing affirmations in my vision book, especially when I'm doing an exercise or a technique that requires them. And the vision book is also kept is there for you to write down any of your visions. The reason that I'm separating these books, although LaQuisha had, I found out the pronunciation of her name. Last week when LaQuisha did her lovely testimonial video, she mentioned a binder, for a vision binder, if you will. That is perfectly fine. The reason that I wanted to separate my particular, or help you guys to separate your things in several books, is because you want to make a distinction, at least in your binders. If you're going to do a binder, you still want to make the distinction between where your morning pages go, where your visions go, where your notes go, and of course where your intentions go, which now we're going to be talking about our intention book. So as we mentioned, a vision book is a place where we keep our dreams. We're continuing to jot down our notes. These are like our notes that we take on the class, or anything that we read, or any poignant quotes that we want to write down. These are for our notes. These are for answering the questions and the tasks, or to do the exercises. That's what your vision book is for. So then you want to go on to your intention book. Well, what is an intention book? An intention book is where you write down your goals. It's important to create goals. Why? Because again, this keeps firm in your mind things and ways you can manifest your visions. The little part that you can do in manifesting your vision. You're not going to be the only one doing the work. God's going to do the rest of the work. But in order for you to have to do that work, you have to understand what that is. So again, goals allow you to sort of create a map. There's a chapter here called Setting Goals, where she talks about how to set goals, why you set goals, and exercises in setting goals, which is going to be on page 139. As you'll notice, she said, I have in my own life found that once I have a clear, strong intention to create something, it often happens quickly and easily. I experience this as a kind of click in my consciousness when I suddenly get a very strong experience of what I want, and an equally strong experience that I'm going to get it. It usually takes a certain amount of time and energy spent in processing before I arrive at that point of clarity. What does that mean? I started to get what's called a sense, right? She talked about this click of consciousness. And that happened when I got this book. I bought this book in New York about 10 months ago. And what I had intended upon doing was creating vision class with just this book. I had no other intentions but to create a vision class based on just that book. I was not going to do The Artist's Way. I was not going to do Write It Down, Make It Happen. I wasn't going to do any of the other books. It was just going to be creative visualization. And then information started coming to me out of nowhere. And I had the strong experience of what I needed to do. I needed to make a real, actual class. There needed to be syllabus. There needed to be notes. There needed to be access to resources, etc. and so forth. There needed to be a community. This could be something big. This could be something major. And here it is today. So this is what I'm here to explain to you all. What Shakti Gawain speaks about, and what I'm speaking about, is your life purpose. It's going to come to you. As she said, after much time and energy spent in processing before you arrive at that point. That is vision class, the time and the energy. I'm not saying that upon week 12 you'll know exactly what you're meant to be, But I am saying that the work that you're doing in vision class will attract that information to you. I am absolutely saying that, as long as you are doing the work. I am absolutely saying that. I have no doubts of that. None. Zero. So I want to remind you that as you are doing this work, get invigorated, because that's what you're doing. You're putting time and you're putting energy into a process that will allow you later to have a click of consciousness, an aha moment, if you will, of what you need to do with your life. And when you have that moment, I beg of you to post it on Facebook or Google+. Shira, I had it. I know who I am. Thank you. Let us all know so we can all feel invigorated by your testimony.
Tip: write an affirmation each time you make an entry in your intention book. It will help manifest your intentions for that day.
The last tool that you want to utilize in vision class is your InVision board. It's no longer called your vision board, okay, for copyright purposes and for the purposes of creating less confusion between the abbreviations, or amongst the abbreviations rather. We're going to do our InVision board. What is our InVision board? Some people called it a dream board on Oprah's website. You can do that. You can do it on your computer screen, on your desktop. That can be your vision board, InVision board. You can also do a tangible InVision board. I'm doing a real old-fashioned InVision board. I'm using cardboard, construction paper. I'm going to do cutouts, everything. So what is an InVision board? Shakti Gawain speaks about what's called an ideal scene. You see, she talks about the same tools that I talked about, yet in different words. This is how alignment works. This is how synchronicity works. I talked about all this stuff before I even read Creative Visualization. Yeah, so it's not like we're just like, hey, one of us takes credit or the other doesn't. No, we're all speaking about the same knowledge. We simply are using our own words. So now I'm telling you the words that I'm using. LaQuisha used her own words. Vision binder. Find what works for you. So what is an ideal scene? What is a treasure map? The ideal scene is how you envision yourself, and your treasure map is the way that you get there. So your treasure map is really more specifically closely related to your InVision board. We will tell you more on how to construct your InVision board as time goes on, but of course, as always, Shakti Gawain has tons of exercises that will work for you starting out in making your InVision board. So we're just going along here step by step. We're not going to give you all the information at once. We're going to give you tidbits of information so you can process it in a healthy manner.
Note: the treasure map mentioned in Creative Visualization is nearly equivalent to the concept of the InVision board.
So the last thing we want to talk about is the whole reason that we're doing vision class, which is manifesting your higher purpose. What is your higher purpose? Your higher purpose is something that you may or may not know yet. I know plenty of my higher purpose, but I know that there's more. I know that once I'm done figuring out what my higher purpose is, I'll have to find out another higher purpose. This vision, this manifestation, it never stops happening. So what is the point of vision class? The point of vision class, as I told one of the students in office hours, is to bring people together so that we can help one another manifest our visions and thus find our life's purpose. We talk about this all the time. That's why I have an intro for you to constantly hear this. I want this to get into your brain. So, we talk about how do you find your life's purpose? Well, number one, as long as I said at the beginning of this video, as long as you stick to the techniques that I'm providing for you. Granted, you cannot do them all and you won't do them all, but I'm taking the time out of my schedule to recommend to you things that will help you to manifest this. You'll find these tasks at the end of each of the Artist Way chapters, and Julia Cameron suggests what you do. Of course, all the techniques that I tell you in writing in your vision book and writing in your legacy book and writing in your intention book, all of these things are going to help you manifest your life's purpose. We'll share a how. It doesn't matter. As long, I will talk about it, of course, later, but because we can't talk about everything in every video, we'll go over on time. But the whole idea is that by doing the work, the universe can cooperate with you, and it just happens. It's not something that you consciously realize is happening, but it's happening. You're already doing it. Right now, by watching this class, you're already attracting to you your greater purpose and your future and your knowledge of what that is. Because right now you may have no knowledge of it, but it will come. All of this feeling of being lost that we all feel, where we don't know what we're supposed to be doing, and people put doubts in our heads, our poisonous playmates, and we put doubts in our own head through crazy makers, or we put our own doubts in our own head through ourselves. All of this shifts by doing the work. The techniques, that's one way. The affirmations, that's another way. You'll start to notice how the books are intertwined without even trying. They intermingle with one another. You'll notice this in my notes. You'll also notice this as I begin talking about later books, how they connect back to the other books of the course. Without trying, the synchronicity is only happening because all of this information is already there. It's simply these authors' interpretations of the same information. By constantly doing the work that I am recommending that you do in this course, you will start to notice that you're attuned to your life's purpose. You will start to notice things that are happening that you didn't notice before, just by doing the work. Not knowing how you're recognizing this happening, you'll recognize it happening. And little by little, you'll connect the dots. How do I know this? I'm promising you this because I see it in my own life. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Thank you so much for taking the time to participate. And even if you're not reading, I'm going to go ahead and thank you ahead of time for reading the books. 6 of the 7 books are free. This is no coincidence. This information is there for you. God wants it to be there for you. God created angels to put that information there for you. This is all free knowledge. You can do this. Love you. See you next week. Peace and peace.
Today in Vision class, we discussed how to empower your vision through affirmations with guest speaker Tay Queen. We read the Week 2 chapter from The Artist's Way, and we finished creative visualization. We learned to acknowledge our self-doubting behaviors in order to recover our sense of identity. We discussed ways to safeguard our creative self by avoiding poisonous playmates and energy vampires, as well as giving our full attention to the synchronicity in our lives. We learned to utilize the tools of Vision class, such as the Intention Book and Envision Board, to help us do our part in manifesting our dreams. Finally, we learned how to connect to our higher purpose through the use of various techniques offered in all of the course texts. Join us next week, Friday, June 21st at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we learn how to solidify our visions with an Envision Board. And we also will have 2 testimonies from Vision class students. As always, make sure to read The Artist's Way, Week 3, pages 61 through 77, as well as begin Write It Down, Make It Happen.